In this episode of our Best of season, we're going to be exploring great grains. I'm Cat Neville, and this is Feast TV. Local grains are making a comeback. For so many years, all you did was go to the grocery store and pick up an anonymous bag of flour or rice, and that's changing. So in this episode, we're going to be visiting bakeries as well as a rice farm where local grains are in the forefront. So I'm going to be making a rice pilaf throughout this episode. The first step of making pilaf is chopping up my onion. And this particular pilaf is very Middle Eastern in character. It's going to include apricots and almonds and raisins, and I'm going to be topping it with a tahini sauce with a bunch of garlic and olive oil. But before we actually get further into the recipe, let's head to Kansas City and meet the team behind Ibis Bakery. They are doing incredible things with artisan breads.
I started getting into baking actually through coffee. My brother-in-law started a coffee roasting company out on the West Coast, and we had some friends that were baking really great bread out there. My wife and I were actually going to move out there, but we decided that it was too expensive, so we moved to Kansas City, and I was into cooking, so I started the bread piece of it, kind of like not intending to do it as a career, and just fell in love with it. What I love about bread is there's like a fresh start every day. So you get to go through kind of an extensive process, and then you can change it the next day and the next day and the next day and the next day. So it's always new, but you're repeating the same things. So Ibis officially started like 3.5 years ago. I was baking just like 4 loaves of bread a day, and people just got excited about it, which led us to expand, install an oven and a table, and then we've kind of just progressed from there. One of our philosophies at Ibis is like long fermentation using organic ingredients, and then we believe that that long fermentation yields a lot of flavor in the end product. We really focused hard on our bread program with those philosophies in mind, and then I've always had this urge to like do pastries, and we took that same long fermentation philosophy and applied it to our pastry program. Our bread is different from commercial loaves. It's all done by hand. You're sort of coaxing this dough to become a loaf. You're not like throwing all this stuff and making it just fill with air and then bake it. That's how a lot of commercial bread is made. You have no acid, lots of yeast that just gets that volume, but there's no health benefits, and it just lacks a lot of flavor. A lot of commercial bread has additional things like iron and all these different sugars that go into the bread, and ours is just flour, water, salt. At Ibis, we blend our flours for all of our doughs. We do it because the grain that we get isn't always the same, but we want to achieve the same end result. We'll adjust weekly or daily even our blend of flours to get it to how we want it to be. Kate is my wife. She started the business with me, and she runs the whole retail side of things.
I was a teacher. I'd never started a business. Chris had started a couple other businesses. He just knew how much it would require of him to do it, and we wanted to make sure that, at least at the beginning of our marriage, we were really getting to know each other and giving each other our best. It's hard to do when you're pouring yourself into something like this, where it's like literally like a baby that you're trying to like get up off the ground. And so we decided together, like right when we got married, like let's start this company. He's so talented on the bread baking side, and he's a wonderful leader. And then I just naturally, because of a background in education, gravitated toward teaching customers about what we're doing and learning how to run the business, writing a schedule, writing checks. Here at the cafe, we are famous for our toast, 4 different types every single day. We've developed a pretty popular and big food menu. We're doing breakfast stuff and then also lunch menu. So sandwiches, soup, salad, we do everything from scratch. The bread rack's gonna get filled up with loaves of bread. We do that Wednesday through Sunday. We only sell them the day of. And then there is pastries. We specialize in croissants and fermented doughs, so we use that dough for danishes and Queen Amman as well. And then a lot of rotating seasonal pastries.
Joel is our bread production manager. He focuses on blending flours, adjusting water levels. Today he's actually mixing our bread doughs.
So how many loaves are you guys making in a day?
It varies. We're doing anywhere from 200 to 300 usually each day.
So 200 to 300 loaves a day, and you bake 4 or 5 days a week?
Yeah, we bake Wednesday through Sunday.
There's something about bread, because it has so few ingredients. It's a living organism, essentially.
Exactly. And we get to watch it grow from nothing every day and see the full process in a couple of days' time. That's why I got into it, why I love it, and continue to do it.
That's really cool. So in each one of these bins, every time he's opening them up, it's almost like there's a surprise inside. The first one was like oatmeal. The second one was the cranberry and walnut.
Yep.
And then this is sprouted grains. And so what he's doing is he's layering the base dough on top of these add-ins to make, you know, all the different types of loaves that you produce.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Ferveri was previously owned by Fred Spompanato. He is my bread mentor. He's like one of the fathers of good bread in the country. And a couple years ago, he sat me down and said, basically, I'm gonna retire. I'd like to hand the business over to you, which was just a huge honor. So my wife and I purchased it for very little and have been running it since. It's a really cool, iconic spot in the city. We're working on opening a new facility in the Crossroads in Kansas City. And one of the things I'm really excited about is we'll actually be able to mill our own flour. We'll actually be able to take local grains and mill them in-house. So it takes that flour blending piece that we're really passionate about to another level. And we'll also be able to hopefully create some sort of infrastructure for milling in the city and distribute to other people who are wanting to get really good quality local flours. It's exciting to be pursuing that.
So my butter is melting and I'm gonna stir in my onions next. I really enjoyed my time with the folks at Ibis. I love how they have the coffee shop attached to the bakery. And they're also in the process of launching a mill in Kansas City where you're going to be able to access freshly milled local grains, which is extremely cool. I wanna see more of that happening around the country. All right. Once the butter foams up and then the foam subsides, then I'm gonna add in the onion. And that's gonna be sauteed until it's just translucent. I'm going to add in 1 cinnamon stick, and this is going to infuse the butter and the onion with just that beautiful warm aroma. All right. So the next step in the recipe is that I'm going to add in 2 cups of rice. And you may not realize, but Missouri is one of the country's leading producers of rice. And we're actually going to be using a locally grown rice from Castor River Farms. And our next segment is with Martin Rice Company. They've been growing rice for generations down in Missouri's Bootheel. Let's go check in with them now. So it's late September and it's kind of unseasonably warm, would you say, and dry?
It is for this time of year.
Is it kind of ideal harvest weather, or?
Any weather is good harvest weather. This is the time of year when we reap the benefits.
And a lot of folks might not realize that rice is grown here in Missouri, and we're in South Missouri. And what varieties of rice are you growing?
This year we have medium grain that's used in cereal production. We have jasmine, which is a long grain, sticky, aromatic, and we have just regular long grain, like you'd eat at a Chinese buffet.
What's your favorite?
I like the jasmine.
I do too.
We have the ability to be vertically integrated. We're the farmer, we're the producer, we're the miller, we're the packager, we're the marketer. So we take something from seed and see it all the way to the consumer, to the plate, to the table.
Which is unusual.
It is unusual. There's a reason why not many people are doing it. It's pretty hard to do.
It's not just a locally distributed product. I mean, you're distributing all over the place. Tell me what your distribution model is.
Anybody that has any money that can pay us, we sell it to them. No, we sell rice pretty much coast to coast. It started out as a project, and just over a period of 17 years now, almost 18 years, I went from a farmer to a rice miller to a marketer to...
Now you're the rice guy?
Now I'm the rice guy. I'm the Missouri rice guy.
Can we take a look at it?
Sure. This is rice.
Oh, cool.
It's just tall grass. If grass headed out, it would look similar to this.
So the milling process, this outer hull is taken off.
Yep.
And then what is left is brown rice.
If you remove the hull, you've got brown rice. If we make white rice, then the brown rice gets polished by friction to remove that bran layer or the brown layer off the rice.
What do you do with that?
Animal feed.
Okay.
Yeah. When we process rice, we don't throw anything away. Everything has its purpose. Because if you take how much a bushel of rice costs that a farmer receives, each thing that you remove off of that, each step it goes through, has a purpose and a price.
Sure.
Or a value.
A value, sure.
Yeah, to add up to be how much a bushel costs.
Can we go to the mill?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Let's go.
Yep. This is our receiving area. This is where we receive the rough rice, the paddy rice, and the rice comes in these trucks. They get weighed, and we sample the rice to make sure it's the correct quality, and it goes into these tanks. So we have certain tanks for jasmine, we have certain tanks for medium grain, we have certain tanks for long grain. So we're putting the rice in the correct tank, and then whenever we get ready to process it, then we move it from the tank over to the mill.
We've seen the fields, we're seeing the rice being dumped, and now we're gonna go inside and see how it's milled. Let's go.
Okay, so here we've got brown rice, but there's still a lot of imperfections. I mean, even though that looks really pretty, if you get to really picking those kernels out and looking at them, there's some kernels that are there that you wouldn't want to put in the bag.
Okay.
So we have to go through some more processes to get it looking the way it needs to look. You can see how it goes from brown to white to whiter to very bright white.
Absolutely. That's cool.
So we got the rice white, but it's not done. We've still got a lot of things we've got to do to this rice to get it ready to go into the bag. We've got to go through another separation of cleaning and aspirating and sifting, and then we've got to start sizing all the different size pieces. And then we got to have a machine look at every kernel and make sure that it's the right color, the right size, the right shape, everything before it goes on to the next process. All of our rice is all processed and shipped within just a few days.
So you don't process it and then it sits and waits?
We don't mill rice just to be milling rice. We don't expect to have sales. We have sales or we don't process and ship. So all this rice that you see stacked up in here, it all has a home. It's all going someplace.
And there's a lot. There's
Yeah.
a lot of rice.
Yeah. This is our medium grain warehouse.
Where's all of this going?
Well, this is going to make Rice Krispies.
You're kidding.
Every bit of it.
So this is all going to be in somebody's cereal bowl.
This is all going into somebody's cereal bowl, granola bar, anything that has puffed or crisp rice in it. This is where it starts.
This is the bag that I remember picking up years and years ago. And when I picked it up and I saw that it was a Missouri rice, I was like, really? This is grown in Missouri. And so now being able to come down here today and see where it's from and meet you and see the entire process, it's really cool. You don't really think about all of those steps along the way just to get to that one single grain of white rice.
Rice is very common. It's not expensive. It's very economical. A lot of people eat it every day, maybe even 2 or 3 times a day. They really don't appreciate where it comes from or how it got to their plate unless they come and see how that process works, because it's pretty elaborate.
I think it's a surprise to a lot of folks when they realize how much rice is grown in the bootheel. And what's interesting is that the way that that drainage area for the Mississippi River kind of all comes together in that part of the country. It used to be a swampland that was full of thousands and thousands of acres of cypress trees. And so all of that was cleared a couple generations ago and all of the rice fields were put in. So there you go. You can look up the history. All right, next, I'm going to chop up my almonds, and I have my raisins and my apricots. So we're looking at about ½ a cup of almonds, 1/8 of a cup of the raisins, and then 1/8 of a cup of chopped apricots. All right, in go our fruits and our nuts. Just going to stir to combine this. If you remember, we have 2 cups of rice, and so I'm going to put in 2 2/3-ish cups of water, and then turmeric. Okay, and get that up to a simmer. And add in just a little bit of salt, not too much, and just a tiny bit of pepper. Our last stop in our grains episode is in Columbia, Missouri, with a mother-daughter duo that is making some of the prettiest pies you ever did see.
The first Peggy jeans was, I was so tired. I'm not employable, and I hate every job I'm in because I don't like 8 to 5. And so I was desperate to find something to start a business. But it occurred to me that I love to bake, and the only way you could buy a pie is at a grocery store. So my friend and I, she said she would go for it with me. We did a survey and we called 100 people in Columbia. We loved it if the men of the house answered, because they would tell you more than you wanted to know. They tell you what their mothers made and their grandmothers. But based on that, we decided we definitely had a market here in Columbia for homemade pie. I think I wanted to prove that women can open a business if you really want to, without going the traditional methods of getting a man involved and a bank. We were at the lake on the boat drinking, and my grandson says, he's a foodie and he's fascinated with food trucks. And I listened to, he said, you got to get a food truck, Mama. They have all these different kinds. And I said, yeah, I'll think about it. But it really did stick with me. And of course, he hounded me. And it occurred to me, I said, Hayden, time I buy a food truck, there's not enough room to bake, you still need a commercial kitchen. Within a week, I started looking at real estate and started talking to Rebecca, and she said, you're nuts. Then just one thing into another, we got excited thinking about it.
For the longest time, I thought that I could be a practicing attorney and have this shop and get it open and sort of resume to what I considered would be like a normal life. Like I would go back to full-time practice and this would be sort of my side thing and it would be super cute. And all of a sudden, like as we grew, it became clear to me my focus was here. Like all of my heart, my effort, my creativity was all here. I had this feeling like, and I couldn't even identify it. I'm like, what is that feeling? Like knowing it was something, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wait a second, I think I'm happy.
Hi, I'm Jeannie.
And hi, I'm Rebecca, and together we want to bring Peggy Jean's Pies back to Columbia, Missouri.
That's super cute. Be glad she's here, because if it was left to me, it would not look like that. She loves stuff like that. She like made the light fixtures. Like you're like creative that way. Yeah, and all the wood and everything wooden in here. She built it.
We'll go and enjoy.
Tell your mom happy birthday. Those are trending hashtags. When I talk to you about hashtags, that's what somebody's doing. So I don't know who
How
that
do you
is.
know they're trending? When Peggy Jean's closed, I didn't know if anyone would even remember the name. And I had a real fear thinking, oh gee, it's been 10 years. Does anyone even remember Peggy Jean's? And we were going to name it something different. And
Yeah, we talked a lot about should it have a different name.
But then we agreed, let's just go with what's tried and true. And so we did, and it's been phenomenal. It's really validated, I guess me. I felt,
Yeah, that's been more of a thing for you.
yeah.
Like, I don't know.
It made me feel,
I didn't know what to expect because I've never done this before.
no.
But for you, it's been good. Now, like, long term, like, people joke and say, what do you want? I'm like, world pie domination.
I love their little pies in a jar. It's so fun. And just the fact that the mother-daughter team, they work so well together, and they still are operating. They're going full steam there in Columbia, Missouri. So if you have a chance to stop by, you definitely should. All right. As you can see, my rice is off of the stove, and I am going to make my tahini sauce. The first ingredient, obviously, is tahini paste. And kind of like how peanut butter is just ground up peanuts, tahini paste is just ground up sesame seeds. So I'm gonna put a good amount in my bowl. All right, I'm adding, obviously, some fresh lemon juice to my tahini paste. I'm gonna add in a little bit of water. And again, there's no exact measurements for this. You really kind of have to just feel it out. But if you are looking for the recipe, just head to feastmagazine.com. All of it is there on the website. All right, I'm going to add in some olive oil and a little bit of pepper. A tiny bit of salt. I don't want to taste the salt. I really want it just to barely enhance the flavor of the tahini. And I'm gonna add in a couple of garlic cloves. It's a little bit too thick right now, so I'm gonna add in some more water. Last thing I'm chopping up today is just a little bit of flat leaf parsley that I'm gonna sprinkle on top of the rice, along with some sumac, which is a Middle Eastern herb. It lends kind of a lemony flavor to dishes. And now, the big reveal. It smells wonderful. The sweetness of the cinnamon and the raisins and the apricots, it comes through so beautifully. So I'm just gonna mound a whole bunch of it on this plate. Just a tiny bit of this parsley. This wonderful lemony sumac. And then our beautiful tahini. Gorgeous. This would be great with kebabs or some sort of a grilled chicken. Be a wonderful match. It's wonderful. The almonds still have their crunch. You have the sweetness of all that wonderful fruit, and the tahini just adds that little bit of bitterness, and the lemon and the tahini adds a bright character to the dish. It's lovely, and all made with local rice. So thank you for joining me in this best of episode, and I will see you next time.